about the LA mayoral race is it shouldn't even be close. Not for a second. But what's playing out in Los Angeles is a microcosm of what is happening across our country. The corrosive yet incredibly effective nature of unlimited money in politics and deceitful disinformation campaigns to undermine your opponent. Head-to-head on the issues, plans, policies, preparation, authenticity, Karen Bass wins every time. You only have to go look at the candidate's website to see the difference. One candidate has big promises and sweeping plans that sound amazing, but realistically will be mostly impossible to accomplish the way the LA power structure is set up. And the other candidate has detailed specific plans down to the regulations that need to be adjusted to actually accomplish real change. That candidate knows local, state, federal bureaucracy inside and out, having worked in that world for decades. And the other candidate has been working for decades as the master of his own domain, running his own company, sitting in appointed positions on corporate and university boards. The LA mayor actually has very little individual power. Karen understands that, and Rick does not. And since this is LA, we also need to be very clear that only one candidate, despite the letters beside their name, is an actual Democrat. Which speaks to another problem in today's political landscape. People saying whatever they need to say to get themselves elected, but it not being true. And the truth is, Rick Caruso is a lifelong Republican who dabbled in independence. A man who sat on President Trump's Economic Council, gave to anti-choice candidates, and sat front row with his family at the last Republican primary debate, going so far as to get up on stage to shake Donald Trump and Ted Cruz's hand afterward. Rick Caruso only registered as a Democrat 3 weeks before he decided to run for office in deep blue California. So it's dishonest and deceitful to say we have two Democrats running, because we don't. We have one lifelong Democrat who chaired the Congressional Black Caucus, was co-author of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, founded the Bipartisan Congressional Caucus on Foster Youth, won the JFK Profile and Courage Award for helping California through the 2008 economic crisis, was a key player in getting the 2020 Equality Act passed, and was the first African-American woman in U.S. history to serve as Speaker of any state legislature in the country. And we have a billionaire real estate developer who makes beautiful malls with no government experience, who spent $80 million of his own money to buy the mayor's seat. And the sad thing is, it just might work. $80 million buys you a lot of goodwill and slick ads and lots of lawn signs. And in Rick's case, it also paid for a lot of bullshit to muddy the waters about his opponent, which to me is the worst and grossest type of politics. If you have better ideas, let's hear them. If your opponent is dangerous, we should know. But if you have nothing, that you have to use dirty trick after dirty trick and say and do anything until people don't know what to believe anymore, what does that say about you? At the very least, it says, I don't mind lying to the people as long as it gets me what I want. And I just don't think we should be rewarding that. We are in a position where Caruso's PR onslaught has convinced a fair amount of very smart people that he is the better candidate. Not the noble career public servant who started Community Coalition, the LA-based social justice organization created to addressing substance abuse and poverty and crime in Los Angeles, which 30 years later is still considered one of the most impactful and respected nonprofit organizations in the city. Not the woman who did her master's in social work at nights while working in state government during the day so she could do her job better, but the guy who built the Grove. Look, this is a movie town, so I think you guys will understand that the film that wins Best Picture or the actors who take home awards often doesn't come down to the quality of the work, but rather how much money was spent on the campaign for them. That's what we're looking at right now. Giving the prize to the less talented candidate because money talks. Except we don't expect Best Actress to run our city, but one of these two people has to. Do you want to give it to the woman who quit her safe seat in Congress to return to the city she felt she could help? Or do you want to give it to the man who spent nearly $100 million to help himself? Do we give it to the woman who wants to address our problems at their roots so we don't have to deal with them later? Or do we give it to the man who wants to sweep the problems under the rug so we don't have to see them now? I will remind you that being mayor is a thankless, horrible job. Boring and tedious days filled with endless committee meetings and city ordinances where everyone ultimately blames you for everything that went wrong. Only two types of people want to be mayor. People who hear the call to make a difference, and people who want others running when they hear their call. I don't know Rick Caruso. I'm sure he's a very nice man, but he's not who he says he is. And Karen's not who he says she is. And we deserve someone who will be honest with us. Plus, we already tried a billionaire real estate mogul who said he alone can fix it, and it didn't work out all that well for us. So, vote Karen Bass.